Picture this, a village that looks like it's been pulled straight out of a fantasy novel. I'm not talking about a place built with bricks or wood, nope. This place was literally carved out of the side of a mountain. And today, we're gonna go there. I mean, just look at this. Welcome to Kandovan in Iran. And those aren't just cool-looking rocks. Those are people's homes. An entire village of these cone-shaped houses, and people have been living inside them for centuries. It's completely surreal, right? This is what happens when human ingenuity decides to work with nature, not against it. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if your house wasn't built up, but was carved out, hollowed from rock that was literally forged in the fire of a volcano millions of years ago? Sounds pretty wild, but for the people of Kandovan, that's just home. All right, so to really get how this village even exists, we've got to go back, way back. We need to understand the rock itself, because this isn't just any old stone. It's the result of some absolutely massive geological forces that basically created the perfect natural canvas for carving. It all kicks off with a nearby volcano, Mount Sahand. Millions of years ago, it erupted and just blanketed the whole area in this really soft, porous rock called ignimbrite tuff. Then, for literally thousands of years, nature just went to work. Wind, water, you name it, sculpting this soft rock into these incredible cone shapes. And then, at some point, we're talking at least 800 years ago, people showed up and thought, hey, why live next to these things when we can live inside them? And that's when they started carving out these amazing multi-story homes they call Koreans. And you really have to appreciate the craftsmanship here. I mean, look closely. These weren't ready-made caves that people just found and moved into. Nope. Every single window, every doorway, every room inside was chipped away by hand. You're looking at generations of families literally shaping their own homes out of the mountain. You know, when you see it from far away, it looks just like a giant beehive, right? All these little cells packed together on the hillside. And that's actually where the name comes from. Kandovan probably comes from the Persian word for beehive, kandu. I mean, it's the perfect name for it, isn't it? Okay, so cave living might sound a little primitive. But the thing is, the architecture here is actually incredibly smart. It's like this ancient form of green engineering that, honestly, modern builders could learn a thing or two from. Let's dig into the science of it. So there's a fancy name for this, troglodytic architecture. It basically means you're creating a home by digging into rock, using the earth itself as your main building material. You're not adding stuff, you're taking it away. And that simple idea, it has some seriously amazing benefits. And check this out. This is the proof right here. This chart shows something called the PMV index. Basically, it's a score for how comfortable a place feels in the winter. 0 is perfect. The more negative the number, the colder and more miserable you feel. Now, a study looked at a similar rock-cut village and found it scored -2.12. A normal stone house in the same area, a much colder -3.28. The takeaway here is simple. These rock homes are scientifically proven to be way more comfortable in the cold. So how much more comfortable are we talking? Get this, over 13 degrees Celsius. That's the difference between inside one of these homes and the freezing cold outside in winter. And the best part? It takes almost zero energy. The rock itself acts like a giant natural insulator, like a huge thermal battery. It's just brilliant. Totally passive and sustainable design. All right, we've covered the geology and the science. But what's it really like to live day to day in one of these honeycomb houses? Let's take a look inside. When you step inside, it's actually really cozy. The walls are all curved and organic, constantly reminding you that you're literally inside a rock. But then you see the rugs, the furniture. It's just like any other home. It's this really cool mix of wild nature and domestic life. So the layout is all vertical, obviously, because of the cone shape. Typically, the ground floor, they call it the fold, that's for livestock. And their body heat actually helps warm the floors above. Pretty clever, right? Then the second floor is your main living space, kitchen and all. The third floor might be a room for guests, and way up at the top, that's your storeroom. It's dry, it's dark, perfect for keeping food. Now, this is one of the wildest things about these homes. How do you get between floors? Well, there are no internal staircases. To go from one level to the next, you have to actually go outside and climb up these steep, winding steps that are carved right into the side of the rock. The whole village is just this incredible maze of these paths and stairs. So a place this unique? Well, it was bound to get noticed. And with that attention comes tourism. But for Kandovan, this has become a real double-edged sword. It's bringing in money for sure, but it's also bringing some pretty serious threats. This quote from a research paper really hits the nail on the head. There's this genuine worry that Kandovan is slowly changing from a real working community into just a tourism fair, a place that's only alive for the tourists to visit. Yeah, it's a classic dilemma. On the one hand, you've got the good stuff. Tourism brings in money, it puts them on the map, you get that cultural exchange. But the flip side is pretty scary. You've got illegal modern construction popping up, damage from traffic and pollution, and a slow but steady loss of what made the place special to begin with. Wow, and this picture, this says it all, doesn't it? You can see these modern brick buildings just squeezed right in there between the ancient rock cones. It just doesn't fit. It's so jarring, and it's a real threat to the visual magic of Kandovan. And it's not just me saying that. Experts in Iran, from their own cultural heritage organization, are sounding the alarm. They're saying these new buildings are having undesirable effects on the unique tissue of the village. It's like they're breaking the honeycomb apart, piece by piece. So what do you do? How do you save a place like this? Well, the big goal for a lot of people is getting it recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That would offer a whole new level of protection. But it's not that easy. So these are the roadblocks. UNESCO is looking at this and saying, look, you've got new buildings that are changing the whole look and feel. The original homes are being altered, a lot of them just to cater to tourists. You've got erosion, and there isn't a solid management plan in place to protect the site. All these things are holding it back from getting that vital protection. And we really need to understand why this is so important. There are only 2 other places like this in the entire world, one in Turkey and one in the US. But here's the kicker. Those places are basically museums now. Nobody lives there. Kandovan is the only one that is still a living, breathing village. It's a one-of-a-kind, living piece of human history. And that brings us to the final, really tough question. The people who live here deserve a good life, and tourism can provide that. But how do you balance that with preserving this incredible place? How do we help protect a living museum without accidentally turning it into a fossil, frozen in time? That is the tightrope Kandovan is walking right now.